How long should each periodization phase last in a running program? Have you ever wondered how long each phase of a running program should last? Understanding the timing of these phases can make a big difference in your training success. Let's break it down. In running programs, the length of each periodization phase varies based on the athlete's level, event focus, and training goals. The entire training year is called a macrocycle, which usually lasts about 9 to 12 months. This macrocycle is divided into mesocycles, which are training blocks typically lasting 3 to 6 weeks each. Within these mesocycles, there are microcycles, usually 1 week long, that focus on specific workouts and recovery. Now, let's look at the common periodization phases and their typical durations. The base phase, also known as the general preparation phase, focuses on building aerobic endurance and volume with lower intensity. For marathon training, this phase can last 8 to 12 weeks or even longer. Sprinters may have a shorter base phase, around 4 to 6 weeks, concentrating on general conditioning. Next is the build phase, also called the specific preparation phase. During this phase, intensity and specific workouts, such as intervals and hill repeats, increase. This phase generally lasts 4 to 8 weeks. For marathon runners, this includes tempo runs and threshold training, while sprinters focus on technical speed and power development. The peak phase, or competition phase, is where training volume decreases, but intensity remains high to sharpen race-specific fitness. This phase usually lasts 2 to 4 weeks, leading up to the target race or competition. Following that is the taper phase, which is a short period of 1 to 2 weeks where volume is significantly reduced to allow for recovery and peak performance. Lastly, there is the transition phase, also known as the off-season or active rest. This phase lasts about 2 to 4 weeks and allows for recovery with reduced training load and cross-training or rest. When it comes to practical applications, sprinting typically involves shorter phases focused on quality over volume. For sprinters, base phases might be 4 to 6 weeks, build phases 4 to 6 weeks, and peaking or tapering 1 to 2 weeks. Marathon training, on the other hand, requires longer base phases of 8 to 12 weeks to develop aerobic capacity and endurance. Build phases might last 6 to 8 weeks, focusing on lactate threshold and race pace, followed by a 2 to 3 week peak and taper. For middle-distance runners, such as those competing in events from 800 meters to 5,000 meters, the periods are often intermediate in length. Base phases usually last around 6 to 8 weeks, build phases 4 to 6 weeks, and peak or taper phases 2 to 3 weeks. It is also important to consider that every 3 to 4 weeks, a lighter recovery week is often included to reduce fatigue and prevent injury. Volume and intensity are manipulated inversely, meaning volume is higher in base phases and reduced as intensity increases closer to competition. In summary, the length of each periodization phase in a running program typically ranges from 2 to 12 weeks, depending on the phase and running discipline. Longer distance runners generally have longer base phases, while sprinters have shorter, more intense phases. Incorporating recovery weeks and adjusting volume and intensity are key for effective periodization.